Got it. Okay, here we are with Frankie Garcia. Frankie, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, good to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
Frankie, can you tell everyone a little bit about your background?
Yeah, I grew up in the Monterey County, up in the Central Valley of California, and was introduced to motorcycles at a very young age. My dad was a professional motorcycle racer, flat tracker, and mom and dad, when I came along, decided they wanted me to kind of follow his footsteps and got me a motorcycle for my first birthday, and it was kind of all downhill from there.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, just plenty of, that's been my life, really. It's just been going to the races and doing stuff as a family, and, that's what we did as kids. Like, we did the T-ball thing, we did the flag football thing, but, like, when it came down to it, like, we went to the races every Saturday.
There you go.
And, that's what I made my life into.
Got it. And you guys are you and your partner have started a nonprofit called 2 Lanes to Freedom.
2 Lanes of Freedom.
2 Lanes of Freedom.
Yeah. I mean, it's something that we felt that was necessary after we're going through this time in the world right now where drugs are becoming such a gnarly thing, and we're losing close ones and loved ones, and in 2020 I lost my brother to a fentanyl overdose, and he battled addiction, and he was someone that you would never have imagined would even ever touch drugs in his life. And so that happened to me, and a good friend of mine, partner of mine, is he's seen it go on in our world, our
Right.
the two-wheel world. We're both been heavily involved in it, and we've seen it, and it's become a too much of a common thing that we're seeing. Too many overdoses. We're losing good people, and we're seeing families and friends lose people close to them, and so we brought this idea on. 2 Lanes of Freedom is something that he had worked on in the past, and we kind of resurrected it. And we both see that there's a value there, like with what we're dealing with this world with drugs and all the addiction, and fentanyl. Fentanyl is really the gnarly one. That's what's as of today, that's I think the biggest thing right now. And there's not a lot of awareness. There's not a lot of resources. There's not there's not a lot for people that are going through it. Like, I know when I went through it with my brother, we didn't know what was going on. My brother was going to, his meetings and all this stuff, and they thought he was clean. They were testing him, and they don't even have proper ways to test for fentanyl.
Right,
And
it's tough.
so my brother's going through all this stuff, and he's, getting all his tokens from his meeting, being sober for however many. He wasn't sober, so we're living in a world where people are dying, and we're losing our family members, and we don't even have a way to detect it.
Yeah.
To even know. And it's just, kind of bullshit.
Right.
We're getting, drugs are coming from Mexico and China or wherever the hell, and it's not safe. And I don't think there's, I don't think us as a country are doing enough to make people aware about it, how to deal with it. So we're just doing our part to kind of see what we can do and bring some awareness.
Yeah. There's 3 times as many overdoses as there was in 2018 and 2022, and I think it's the number 1 killer. I don't have the exact quote in front of me, but it's from ages 18 to 45 right now.
Yep.
And we're seeing it every month. In my business, we know somebody that's been through treatment, or knows somebody, or an ex-employee that had some time or tried to get sober, and they just do too much, and fentanyl the size of a grain of salt can kill you.
Yeah, it's wild. I mean, my brother went through rehab and all that stuff, and like, he was doing pretty good, and he was sober for a while, and he relapsed. And when he relapsed, he did as much that he'd normally done, and his body just wasn't acclimated to that anymore, and that's what got him, and it just takes that one time. And like, since my brother's passed, my partner, his brother has passed from an overdose as well. So it just goes to show, like, my brother passed, we came up with this idea, we're going to do this, and in the process of it, my partner's brother passed away the same way that my brother
Horrible. Sorry to hear
did.
that
So
for you guys.
it's a serious subject.
Yeah. How old was your brother?
My brother's 27 when he passed.
27.
Yeah, little brother, middle child.
Okay.
So yeah.
So growing up, you guys were just a normal kind of family, having fun, racing.
Yep.
And you said what was he like
Yeah,
growing up?
We went to the race as a family, like I said. That's what we did. Like that was our thing. We every Saturday we'd hop, load up the bikes. My dad's a mechanic. He got the bikes ready. We went out to the races. I was the older brother. I kind of led the way, and my brother was right in my footsteps. And we did everything together till, through our teenage years and and beyond. And both had pro licenses, and that was what was our connection. Two wheels. And he's a good dude. I mean, we got older, and obviously we dealt with some economy stuff in this day of age, and
Sure.
we both had regular jobs, and my brother chose the path of he went to agriculture and did that stuff, and had a really good job, and had a girlfriend, and had his own place, and was doing my brother was a good kid. I was a motorcycle racer, kind of causing a little bit of havoc here
Sure.
and there, nothing terrible. But and then we have a little sister who she's just we dealt with her just being a girl and just her gnarliness. But
Sure.
I mean, my brother was the normal child. He was the middle child. He was the good kid, the one that you'd expect the least to deal with this, and was fully functioning. And when his addiction got brought to light with all of us, none of us believed it.
How'd that happen?
I had a close friend. So my brother and I had the same group of friends. We did everything together.
Right.
And one of our friends approached me and was like, "Hey man, I think you really need to sit down with your brother and kind of understand what's going on with him." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And they said they were like, "Dude, he does cocaine like fucking like an animal," and I didn't believe it. It was, and I'm like, I was like, "You're insane. What are you talking about?" I didn't believe it for 1 second. And then once that was put in my head, then you start looking for things, and you start seeing things, and then you start questioning it, and then then you're asking around. And I had other people tell me the same thing, and I confronted him, and he got kind of he got really defensive about it.
Sure.
But then once after seeing enough and knowing enough, hearing enough, I brought it to light with my parents, and they thought I was crazy. They thought I was out to get my brother and make him look like the bad kid, which I had no reason to. And when so then once there's the same process for them. Once I had that in their head, it was there, even though they didn't believe it, and they were seeing things, and they were going, "Well, wait a minute, he's been at he's got a good job, and he makes good money, and he's kind of doesn't have any money, and he's asking us to borrow money, and he's selling all of his stuff." All the signs were there.
Right.
And they finally confronted him, and he denied it and was defensive. And then a couple weeks later, he walked in my parents' house and just spilled the beans and told him he was an addict, and told him he had a problem. And we did everything that we could. When I say everything, we did everything that we could to help him, gave him everything that he needed. And the issue is you'd send him to rehab. He'd get accepted into a rehab place, but the insurance would only approve him to be there for 14 days.
Right.
You're just getting the process started in
Right.
14 days. So he'd go, and he wanted to get sober, and he would tell us
Right.
this isn't me. I don't want to do this, but I can't stop. And he'd go to rehab. He'd be there for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or whatever, and then he'd come out, and he didn't know what to do. He was like, "I feel good, but now that I'm out, now what?" And he was in and out of rehab, and he was actually, he got to a pretty good place, and he was sober for probably about 3 months, and he was like, I think I need to go to work again. I just want to get on with my life, and I just want to do normal things. And I didn't think he was ready, but you can't, he's an adult. You can't,
Right.
You can't just be the roadblock for everything. And at the same time, we didn't know what to do or how to manage it. So he got a job again, and with that job, he was like, had a company truck, and he had like a company card, and he had money again, and like as soon as he was back to that, it was like his brain just flipped a switch and was like, no, we need some stuff, like,
Yeah.
and that's when he overdosed.
Yeah.
You know, it's just that one time. So
Yeah.
it's just crazy, you know, that I think the biggest thing we suffered with was like misinformation, no information.
Sure.
You know, we didn't know how to help. Like I said, you know, he was in a place where, you know, there was nothing we could do anymore.
Yeah.
There was nothing, and there was no resources, and there were no answers. And, you know, we're on Google trying to figure out what the hell's going on, and
Right.
what fentanyl is and where it comes from and why
Yeah.
it's so addictive. And, you know, it's just, there's not enough resources. And with as crazy as it is in this world, the amount of people that we're losing, there needs to be more help.
You know, and something you said, it just really struck me. It's like everybody thinks that, you know, people that are drug addicts are, you know, just people that are, you know, in and out of prison or maybe homeless. And it's you guys come from a normal family, and he's the middle child. And, you know, probably people thought you might have gone down the wrong road more than him.
Yeah.
And it's like, not him. There's no way. And it affects all walks of life, all kinds of people.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, once people try things and they cross that line, they lose the power to choose, like your brother did.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what happened. You know, it's crazy how, like, and it all started for him. It all started with, like, he was injured, and he got hurt, and he had to have surgery, and he got some pain pills. And
Started with the pain pills,
that's
right?
where it all started.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. Like, and I'm sure you've heard it like a million times, and it just, like, your insurance will pay for you to have all the pain pills you want when you're hurt. But when you
Sure.
need to get better because you're an addict, they're not doing anything to help.
No.
You know, they're giving you 14 days in rehab, which
Yeah.
is like, you know, 14 days here, 20 days here, you know, another 2 weeks here. And it's like, why couldn't you just give them 6 months? You know,
Sure.
just give them 6 months from the get-go. You know,
Right.
let's just be real.
Yeah, and he would have probably stayed, and that's a real broken thing with our system. Is insurance companies are, you know, their job is to try to keep their money, and
Yep.
you know, them helping people sometimes is secondary. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
And you know, we're seeing the same thing in the place where I work, South Coast Counseling. You know, 14 to 20 days of residential treatment is about what people are getting approved for, and then they're doing what they can to get them to the next phase, which is very minimal. And you know, it takes a minute just to land, you know, and have the fog clear up where you can just
Yeah, get sucked
understand where you are again.
Yeah,
you
you'll
know?
get sucked right back into it so fast. I
Yeah.
mean, we watched it happen with him so many times.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's why we're doing this, though. That's
Yeah.
why we're here. You know, we want to take the world that we live in, this two-wheeled world, you know, riding motorcycles and using the two-wheel community and this industry to create awareness and you know, try to help others, because we see it so much. It's so common now. And like I said, you know, my brother raced motorcycles. He got injured. He had to have surgery, got some pain pills. That's where it started. And he's not the only one that's happened to, you
and
know.
that's with all kinds of athletes, you know, they get hurt and pain pills, and then run out of pain pills. What's the next thing you do, right?
Exactly.
Find something off the street.
Exactly.
So let's talk about the two-wheeled industry a little bit, and just world a little bit, and, you know, kind of misconceptions of that, and, you know, what that's about. I mean, it's a lot of fun. I've been around it for 20 years and got to know a lot of you guys, and, you know, I've had a lot of fun. In fact, you know, before I got sober, I was talking to your partner. He knew me back then, and saw me kind of not in my, you know, most shining days of life. And, you know, he's known me and watched me through my years of sobriety. But I mean, that is such a beautiful world that kind of, there's a lot of misconceptions around maybe. And, you know, there is, you know, a lot to it. Drugs and alcohol definitely affect a lot of people in that world in a negative way. And,
Yeah. I mean, the two-wheel world it's a great place. Like I said, I've made my entire life and career out of it. And, you know, racing motorcycles and working in the industry. And, you know, I've been a journalist. I've hopped the fence and was a PR director for a Japanese manufacturer. I've raced for multiple different manufacturers. I've been involved in every discipline from dirt track to motocross, road racing, I've done just about everything, and I've met so many great people along the way. And the two-wheel community that's my family. That's the people that, I have my family. I got my parents and obviously my sister still, and that's the family I was given. But like the two-wheel world is a family that like I chose to have as my family. And it's a big support system, and it's full of great people. And we see the troubles in the industry as we see in regular life, and it's just I feel like it's a good group of people to make a positive impact on a bad situation. So I'm stoked about this, and I'm happy that we're taking something that we find so near and dear to our hearts and using that as a tool to create awareness that hopefully we can stop this from happening to other people.
Mm-hmm. Love it. So personal question for you. I deal with this a lot, personally, when I know somebody that's close or I've met that passes and from addiction. And I always kind of go back to kind of asking myself, is there anything I could have said to that person? Is there anything I could have done? And I've learned through the years there's not, right?
Yeah.
I've done the best I can, but as a family member of someone who passed away from addiction, and you processing that and getting through that, what could you tell like other family members or somebody that's had somebody close to them pass away on how you were able to deal with that and kind of get to a point where you're able to use your brother's death for something good, like what you guys are doing now? So
I think the biggest thing, like after I still process it to this day. In July, it was 3 years that we lost him, and I think the biggest thing, like things that I would have changed, like I was really hard on him when he was going through it. Like I really put my foot down, and it was like a lot of tough love, and that was hard because my brother was my best friend. Like he was the guy that I went to for everything. Like if I had something funny to say, he was the first one to hear it. If I had bad news, he was the one I was going to. Like he heard everything first. And so for me to step in as like big brother was like, that was hard, to tell him no, and like to kind of act like as a parent was the hardest part for me. It was, it's tough watching him, like watching your best friend look at you and go like, whoa, who are you? Like, you're going to tell me what to do? Like, that was tough, but that's what he needed. That was hard, but that was something that needed to happen. And I think the other thing is like, I'd get so mad at first. Like, I'd get so pissed off. And like, there were times like, and I think that's the biggest thing I regret with it is like, there were times that I didn't fully understand what was going on yet. And like at the beginning, and I get pissed at him, and I'd like get gnarly with him and like yell at him and like get like never got physical or anything like that, but I'd get really like aggressive and angry with him, and like that didn't help him. That wasn't helping him. That was never going to help him. But I didn't know. He would do something dumb because his brain is just so messed up, and like only thing that it's feeding off of is drugs, and like he's not making decisions based off of his conscience. He's making decisions off of like what his brain's telling him because he just wants to get more drugs, or he's on drugs and he's not being himself. And I was getting mad at that and not realizing what exactly was going on. And I think patience is a big thing, understanding what that person's going through, what's happening in their brain. Like the decisions they're making isn't them. That's the drugs making those decisions. And, being patient, kind, but having some tough love is, I think that's the biggest thing. Like, I wish I didn't get so gnarly with him. That was one biggest thing. Like, I wish I never wouldn't have been yelling at him and like in his face and, being so aggressive, like, cause he didn't need that. Like he needed the tough love, but he also needed some real love, like to understand that like we're there, and like whether or not he knew what was going on, or like what was happening in his brain, like stress and frustration and all that on somebody that's like trying to break the gnarliest addiction they could ever have. Like that's not going to help. They need to be put in like a place of like peace, and the only thing they need to be processing is I need to get sober. You know, not why is everyone mad at me? Why am I being yelled at right now? Why is, you know, they just need to be, they process, you know, getting sober. And
Right.
that's why treatment centers are so important,
Right.
because that's what they are. You
Yeah.
know, they're places of like peace and like wellness, where somebody that has an addiction like that can peacefully get better. And you know, I just think that when they're put in places like that, it just needs to be for more time. But
Absolutely needs to be for more time. And, you know, there's always that element when people get sober, you know, they've created it. They say it's a family illness, and they've created so much turmoil.
mm-hmm.
And your family, we love our family members, right? But you know, I can look at it from, you know, the lens of when my little sister started getting sober. But you know, it pisses you off, man, because you just want them to be okay.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean,
and, you know, there's that fine line between tough love and caring, because you can't enable them and give them what they need to, you know, have a soft landing spot if they decide to go out again. But you know, yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, I think like one of the best things, like one of the best like kind of middle ground I found with my brother is like, I mean, I went back home, like was living in my parents' house with him in the room right next door to me. Like it was a family affair, like we just wanted to save him. And I think like I built that relationship back with him, like after things got bad and like after we understood more. And like my poor parents, like my parents are old school, like, you know,
Right.
they've lived in the same town since they were in high school, since, you know, their whole lives. And they like, you know, me, I've traveled the world, I've seen shit, like I've been all over the place, and like, you know, I've seen this before. I know people that have addictions, and like for them it was like some third world like crazy stuff that was happening, and like to get them like helping them understand while I'm trying to understand more, because like at the time like fentanyl is a pretty new thing, like, you know, it still is, but you know, I didn't understand. And you know, getting everybody to kind of be on the same page, and but that was tough. But like being in that house with them and like getting to a place where I was like, listen, like I love you, I got you, like whatever you need, I'll get it for you, whatever you want, as long as it's not something that's bad for you. Like, you know, you can have whatever you want, you just say the word, I'll make it happen. But and I think that was a good place, like for him to know, like I'm not trapped and I can have things, you know, just not the things that we didn't want him to have, or that he shouldn't have had. And I think that was a good place to be with him.
Yeah. How's your family holding up now? Your mom and dad?
They're good. I mean, we've really, you know, my brother was the funniest dude I ever met. Like hilarious, like the best sense of humor. And you know, after you deal with the grief and you're mad and you're pissed off and you don't understand why, and like, but then you start to think like, you know, what would he want for me? And we're all kind of on that same page. And like, he wouldn't have never wanted me to be. I was in a bad place for a long time. Like, I mean, probably about a year. I was in a bad spot. Like, I just didn't have a care in the world. Like, my best friend's gone. Like, I don't care what happens. You know, this sucks. And it took me a long time to get out of that. Like, two wheels, racing motorcycles, you know, racing baggers. That's what brought me out of it. Like that, I feel like that whole thing came along at like the perfect time. You know, I was in the worst place of my life, and then, you know, I got a phone call to go do this bagger race, and like that made me, like, that's what's kept me out of that hole. And I feel like it's the same for my family, you know, for my parents and my sister. We've all really embraced the fact that like this is what Jess would want us to do. Like, this is where he would want us to be. He'd want us to do and what we love, what we always did as a family. I run the number 14 on my race bike. That was his number his whole life. And we're out there doing it for him. You know, my dad comes to all the races with me. You know, my mom has some health issues she's dealing with, and she makes it out when she can. But I think like the best thing that we've done is just to really tell ourselves, like, what would Jess want us to do? Would he want us to be upset and bummed out and grieving? Like, no. But I mean, it's going to happen. You know, there's not a day that goes by that I don't think about him. There's not a morning I wake up and not think about him.
Right.
And I know it's got to be even gnarlier for my parents. You know, that was their kid, you know. And I think we've all heard it a million times. Like a parent's worst nightmare is losing one of their kids, and I firmly believe that like a parent should never have to bury one of their children, and so I think we're all doing pretty good. We all try to be advocates for what try to shed light on the situation and the fentanyl situation we have going on in our world, in this country, and we just try to do right for my brother, and I think that's what really gets us going, and really keeps us on track. And my sister, same thing. Like she's kind of really grown up. It made all of us grow up really quick, and she's grown up and matured, and like she's really embraced the fact that like this is a serious issue that we have and that we deal with, and she's doing well. We're all doing really well. It sucks, there's always going to be a piece of us missing, especially because we are always so close. The five of us, we did everything together. Like I said, my brother and I had the same group of friends, and they were always at the house. Like my parents are like the cool parents, like to an extent. Like obviously,
your house was the hangout house.
There was still like my parents are like they were like I don't want to say sheltered us, but like mom was always pretty gnarly. Dad was more open about everything, but yeah, we always hung out at my parents' house, and they were like the fun ones, and like it's so all of our friends still come over pretty regularly and have dinner with mom and dad and do all that stuff. So everyone's doing well. It's just we'll always have a piece of us missing.
That's really neat, though, that you guys' life is centered around honoring your brother by bringing awareness to something that didn't exist 5-10 years ago. When I got sober 17 years ago, I didn't even know what fentanyl was. And, the kind of addict I was, if I would have been in a different day and time, I might not be sitting here talking to you. And that's just the reality of it now. And it's just it's really cool that you guys are doing everything you're doing to honor your brother's memory and bring awareness to what's going on. So
and I think with what we're doing with 2 Lanes of Freedom is it's gonna take that even further, and we're not gonna be able to honor my brother's memory, but my partner's brother, and anyone, everyone in this community who's dealt with the same thing and has lost somebody close to them. So it's going to be cool. We're going to do a lot of cool stuff.
So talk to me about that. What kind of stuff are you guys doing through your foundation? And
so we're going to do some events and kind of coordinate some stuff and some rides to raise money so we can put back into organizations and things to help, like I said, keep spreading awareness, kind of spread education of how to deal with this problem, when you're put in a situation with a family member or a friend or somebody that's going through this kind of stuff. And but it's going to be cool. We're going to do some stuff, and we're going to do some rides and hold some events, and it's we got a lot of things in the works that we've been planning on. It's been a long time coming, and we've been planning all this stuff, and it's it's good to know, again, like we have this community that we can kind of lean on and get all the support from, and raise awareness of something that's so important right now.
That's awesome. And then you just told me you just got back from the East Coast, and talk to me about what's going on with your career in racing. And
yeah, I mean, 3 months after my brother passed away, I got a phone call and asking if I wanted to race a bagger on a road course. And at the time I was like, oh, I get to race a motorcycle, like the one thing that's always made me happy. Like, yeah, why not? Let's go do it. And now that we're in 2023, that was in 2020. I raced the entire 2021 season, 2022 season, and just this past weekend I finished up the 2023 season, and this is now my full-time job is racing Harley Davidson baggers in the Moto America King of the Baggers Championship. So
and you're sponsored by Harley Davidson right now.
Yeah, I race for Saddleman Harley Davidson, and it's kind of Harley's factory satellite team. We're based out of Long Beach. We're in the old West Coast Choppers building. That's our our race shop, and it's been cool. It's been fun, and like I said, that's what's that's what's kept my head on straight. Like, that's what's kept me happy and going, and, you know, giving me something to do, and kind of gave me life again after losing somebody so close to me.
Yeah. So what's next? What's next for you?
You know, now we're just focused on 2024 and getting into that. Plan on racing for the same team next year, and you know, developing a little bit more over the off season, and kind of closing the gap, I think, is the goal to the front guys. Those guys are going so fast right now. So yeah, doing that, and focusing on 2 lanes of freedom, and kind of making some plans for next year, and what we're going to do and how we're going to take this to the next level, and keep pushing forward on all that. I think that's those are the main goals right about now.
Nice. So if people want to keep up with you and follow you, what's your Instagram?
You can look up 2 Lanes of Freedom on Instagram, and then you can check out 2lanesoffreedom.com.
Okay, great. And people can donate on that site to your cause. And
Yep. Be able to donate. You'll find out what events we're going to be doing, any information that for people to get involved, information to get help, just about everything. Like, we want to really raise awareness, not only like how to create funds to help people, but we also want to be able to give information to people that are suffering through the same sort of issues, and you know, if they have a family member or friend, or, you know, kind of resources to help people get through this as well.
I love it. All right. Well, thank you for coming on. That
Thanks
was
for having
awesome. And look forward to catching up in a couple months.
Sounds good. Thank you,
Thanks,
sir.
Frankie. All right.